Dega machne Ephraim Parsha Zemor. Ibas Kohen kisir leish zor, hi b'sirmas hakodeshim lo yisoichal. The daughter of a priest that will be to a strange man, she shouldn't eat from the holy separations, the contributions that people made to the priests from their food. Once a daughter would marry someone who's not a priest, she would no longer eat from that food. יש לנו בזה בדרך רמז. We can say, in a way of a hint, על דרך מלא הארץ דיה כמים ליום החסים. Pasuk says, the prophet says, that the nature of humanity is such that this earth is going to be covered in wisdom. This planet is going to bathe in wisdom and knowledge of the truth, like the water covers the sea. So just like when you're in the sea, wherever you look, you see water as far as the eye can see. So too, the nature of humanity is such that when the oppression will end, wisdom will be everywhere, as far as the eye can see, as far as the mind can think, as far as the heart can desire. And so, יש לנו בזה הפרש, כי ים היא בחינת סוף כל המדרגה של מלכוס. The yam, the sea, represents the malchus. The malchus is the portion of the divine that is conscious within man. That portion of the divine that has been exiled because humanity separated themselves from the unity. And so the Malchus is called Yam, it's called the sea. ולכך נקרא לפעמים ים סוף, על שם זה, the sea at the end. Why is it at the end? Because it's the result of everything else. When you're silent, you don't have to do anything in order to be alive. Something else is making you alive. What is that something else? It's the 9 intelligences that are creating your intelligence. And so everything comes together to become you, and you do with that whatever you think is real. And that, in that reality, in the reality of perception, is where man separated himself from everything else. And because he separated himself in perception, he also separated his nerves from proper function. So now there's fear. Now there is ignorance. Now there is a vast potential for what we describe as evil. Evil means a source of human suffering. And so the Yam Sof, is the Malchus, vi bechinas din. She represents judgment. Why does she represent judgment? Look around and you'll see. What are humans doing to themselves and each other? They never stop judging. And this is because they're overemphasizing one of the attributes that make them be. And they've lost contact with an even more important attribute that makes them be, which is the attribute of kindness. So lost access to kindness, too much judgment, and the effect that we have on the world is suffering. So this is b'chinas din al derech dina de malchisa. The judgment of the malchus, of the kingdom. Why is the human spirit called kingdom? Because the one who made us desired that we be in charge of this planet. So this is his desire, this is his kingdom. He wants us to be in charge of everything below us. But before we can be in charge of everything below us, we have to make peace with everything above us. Everything above us means everything we can't control. And so, the din of the Malchus, the judgment of the kingdom that was given to humanity as a gift. And we're judging it into suffering. We're interpreting it in a way that results in us constantly feeling inadequate, constantly feeling like life was not designed for us. And yet, we know for certain that it was, because here we are. And so it must be that the information is not accurately reflecting the situation. And so, because we have this judgment, we're constantly resisting life. We're losing energy. We're being inefficient with our life force. We're getting involved in things that have nothing to do with us. We're just reacting to the environment and losing energy. And when we lose energy, it's evil. Not only because it's a waste of energy, but also because then we're not functioning at full capacity. So we're not there for those who need us. We're not there for ourselves, who needs itself constantly at full intelligence, at full capacity. And so this din, this judgment, needs to be nimtak, has to be sweetened somehow. We have to find access to some form of sweetener so that we can remove the judgment from the malchus. If he goes to the big people of the generation, or those people who have access to the name, through them, he gets inspired to his own realization. Then he can get attached to his source, to the world of understanding, and there, all the judgments become sweet. Understanding is so sweet that the moment you understand who we are judging, then that judgment can no longer receive sustenance from us. That judgment suddenly turns into something else. It turns into an increase in your available life force, because you've removed the entanglement that was using your energy to resist reality. And so you reunite with a portion of your spirit. So this is what he's saying, that if a person comes to those who can guide the mind towards its own source so that it can surrender all its judgments, so that it can actually serve its purpose, try to assist the being that it's serving, then he goes up to the world of understanding, Olam Habina. The world of understanding is represented by the word me, who. To go to the world of understanding, we ask, who wants to go to the world of understanding? How do we define that one? And the more we try to define that one, the more we realize that we cannot define that one. And the more we realize we cannot define that one, the more we understand that we have no place to judge. We don't even know what we're judging. And so, when he does that, Kshemale Yam, he raises up the sea, Shua Malchis, that's the divine that is dressed up within reality that we know, within the world of perception. El Olam Habina, he returns that world to the world of understanding, Sheimi, that's talking about who is perceiving everything that's being perceived. And who am I? And so, when he brings it back, so the letters Yam, the letters of the sea, they turn around and they become me. Who? Who is perceiving the sea of potential? Who is swimming in that sea? So V'nasim is a mai. So it says the letters me, the letters water, can also be the letters me. The letter of who can also be mai, water. When it comes to understanding, he brings compassion. He brings kindness. If humanity would realize who they are, they would be kind to each other instantly. They're just distracted. They don't realize what they're doing. They don't understand. They don't understand who. Who is doing and who is he doing it to? And so this way he brings everything to compassion and kindness. It's all through the level of perception, realization, knowledge. Knowledge that is experienced, not intellectual knowledge, but knowledge that is known by all the organs, not just the brain. He returns it to its source, Vishamra Imala Aretz. The whole earth will be filled with knowledge, with this experiential knowledge. The whole body knows. Every organ knows, every cell knows. Not just the brain has the information. This is the type of knowledge that was introduced by the Greeks. But real knowledge, knowledge that is the entire spirit that creates reality. When So through this realization, he brings back to source all the different judgments. From the judgments, the letters turn around. From the letter of Elohim, which represents nature, the physical, the nature of the body, and the nature of the rules, and the nature of keeping track of who did what. So he turns those letters around to make mala, fullness, that the earth gets filled, because now he has more access to the life force. He dropped his argument with life, and he's making friends again. So nasa kamaim layam mechasim becomes like water covers the sea. Min yam nasa maim kenal. So from the yam, you're in the sea, you make the sea into waters of compassion and kindness. וזה גם כן יברך ירא השם הקטנים הגדולים. The pasuk says, blessed are those who fear the name, those who are in awe of the name, the little ones and the big ones. היינו אף בני אדם הקטנים בערך, כשהם עם הגדולים, היינו תפל ומחובר ודבק עליהם, אז יברך. היינו ממשיך בחינת ברכה אליו. So the small people, meaning those who don't have access to the unity, by going to the bigger people, by looking for a source and connecting to that source, so they bring upon themselves blessing as well. They bring upon themselves access to the life force. This is blessing. Blessing means quality. The quality of spiritual depth. The quality of completeness of the soul. So the small ones with the big ones, together, they receive blessing. He also gains access to realization, to knowledge of experience. Through the realization, he unites what's happening with who it's happening to. The Malchus, the human spirit, the way it manifested, and the Bina, the understanding of who lives in all that's being perceived. And there all the judgments become sweet. Until there's peace, there's kindness, there's compassion. So it's constantly bringing the spirit back to seeing the world from the eyes of compassion, because if we all saw that vision, that's what we would have. We decide what happens, nobody else. Whatever vision we see, this is what we're acting out. We're pretending like the world is the way that we think. And we pretend for real. We actually behave that way. And this becomes our reality. And everybody around us has to put up with that, as if it was reality. So when we create our interpretation, we want to create the kind interpretation. Why make other people put up with judgments? Life is hard enough as is. And so once we're going to be kind, life won't be hard at all. Life is going to be just joy, because nobody's going to ruin your day, because nobody's going to want to ruin your day, because nobody would ever do anything that would ruin anybody else's day. And so then we all have good days. And so this is what he's saying. If we go back to the understanding, all the judgments get released. Because why? For what? Why create resistance? Why get into an entanglement that's going to cost you energy, and then you're not going to gain anything. You're just going to have less life, less you available to you. So they bring it back to the understanding, and all the judgments get released. This is what the pasuk is saying. A bas kohen, the daughter of a priest, du nishmasa. The neshama is called the daughter of a priest, because Hashem is called a priest. What is a priest? One who is designated to the spirit. Hashem is called Eila Lehaya Ruchos, the force that is the divine power within the spirits. Wherever you see an animated human spirit, know that there is some very special entity, very special force residing within. And that force gives this being the power that it has. This being might be completely misguided and using their power in horrible ways. But nevertheless, the reason they could do that is because there's a very holy and powerful being that's giving them the opportunity and the power to do what they're doing. And so the daughter of the priest is the neshama. The neshama, the soul, the individual intelligence that is inside of me, that created me, created my body, decided the shape of my features, decided the different interpretations of size and density for each organ and each function that's individual to me. Nobody else ever thought this way. Nobody ever thought to make a human like I thought. And this is intrinsic. This proves itself by the very fact that I'm sitting here. And so this neshama is the daughter of a priest. It's coming from a place that is completely concerned with spirit and spirit only. But it's going into a place where maybe it's concerned with spirit, or maybe it's completely forgotten its true nature. Maybe it's concerned with other things, distractions, going out to a strange man, to a man that's not aligned with its nature. So this is what it says. Kisir leish zor, she goes to marry a strange man, do samach mem. This is the divine poison. The divine poison is human ignorance. Wherever we're not intelligent enough to understand who we really are and what we're really supposed to do, in that place, there's a poison. There's a poison that eventually causes us suffering. So if the neshama, the soul, comes into the world and gets attracted to things that violate its nature, its spiritual nature, they violate its beliefs or its emotions or its understandings of reality so that it can protect itself in the spiritual realms. So here we have Elzar Elach, we have otherness within the spirit. The spirit is in conflict with itself. The spirit is in conflict with life. There's otherness. It doesn't belong. There's no reason the spirit should be fighting with itself. This is an unnatural state. So this means that there's an other force that is animating within this spirit that's causing suffering. Viloshin Tumur, it's a question. How could this even happen? Al-mazeh v'lamazeh. How could this even happen that the daughter of the priest should find herself with otherness? The Torah asks, The Torah wonders, could it be that a holy soul gets captured by the forces of illusion, the forces of ignorance, and she forgets her purpose, she forgets why she came down within the body in the first place? Now she's in judgment, now she's in conflict, now she's inviting all kinds of separation and conflicting the life force, spending it inefficiently. In Farish Hatam, it says, what's the reason? She forgot the unity. This is why it can happen. She separated herself from the holiness. She separated herself from her true nature. She's forgotten who she is. She didn't find people who can remind her who she is. Therefore, she doesn't have access to the unity. She doesn't know how to unite herself with herself, all her manifestations, all her organs, to work together as one. From there comes suffering and judgment. One is united with the righteous. He receives access to realization. He returns the kingdom, he returns the spirit to understanding, to remembering. And then all the judgments get sweetened in their source. The source is within you. And within that source, when we realize how they rise and why they rise, we recognize that we don't really want them to rise. And then we gain access to that place inside of us so that they don't rise anymore. And then we can use the life force that was tied up in judgment, in resistance, in separation, and unite it with the spirit so that she can shine in her full glory. Any questions?
Hey. I have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
You mentioned Elokei Aruchot,
Mm-hmm.
and godly power that sometimes like animates people and makes you move and makes you, give and love and appreciate and do all the great things that we're supposed to be doing all the time. And I sometimes can access or get to that type of a feeling, but most of the time, no. So how, is there any technique? Is there any way to, because obviously it sounds like that's desired.
Well, this is a type of knowledge. It's a realization. If I am moving, someone is allowing me to move. There's a force. Yeah. Now, there's a force inside of me that's animating the entire spirit. It means it feels itself in the body. It feels itself everywhere that I have blood or nerve endings. And then it can, based on its thought, move these limbs just by intention. Yeah, this is the spirit. The spirit is alive inside, and you move. I'm moving my mouth because I intend to move my mouth. This is a spirit that's doing this. I don't know how it works. I'm using a force. The force that I'm using is the same one that Avram Avinu used, and Moshe Rabbeinu used, and you use, and I use, and everybody else. Because this force is the one that does this. It does it for everyone. It does it for free. It doesn't charge anything. And when we recognize that this is the reality, then we can use this force in ways that is not available to one who hasn't recognized that this is the reality. Because everything in life is relationship. It's how do you see, how do you envision, how does your spirit interpret something? That's your interaction with that thing. If your spirit interprets this relationship with the one who creates the spirits to be different than it is, then you don't have full access to its functionality, because you only have access based on how you envision it, how you believe it to be. So by realizing that this is the truth, it's an objective truth. It's not something anybody can deny. That there's something that's animating me. Look, I'm making noise. And so that's something. We're just giving it a name so that we can refer to it and understand its function. And we realize that there is a force that is in charge of these beings that are constantly coming and going from within us, doing different things. They come into us, they do their function, and then something else comes and does something else, all using the same body. And we observe, we can see this happen. We say, oh, it's me, this is me, I'm doing it, but who are you? You're just observing something you don't understand. And so, in order to try to not necessarily understand, but at least create the proper relationship with what you are, so the ancient people would analyze every force and try to get to know its function, to get to know what it's capable of, what is the range of possibility, what does it like and what does it hate. They studied all these things because they realized that who we are is important, and we might want to know a little bit about that, rather than just figuring out what gadgets we want to play with, or what type of creation we want to do outside of us. They studied how does us happen. And by doing that, they gained tremendous insight, wisdom, power. They called it being closer to the Creator. Being closer to the Creator means perceiving reality from His perspective, which simply means knowing reality better. And so, by defining the forces, they understood how they can interact with these forces in order to affect their experience. We all do it, but we're doing it unconsciously. And they understood the value of doing it consciously, and they focused on that. And so this force, the divine force within all spirits, is always present in all human beings whenever they are still alive. And it leaves when the soul leaves. Then that force is no longer animating that body, and all the functionalities that were available to that force are no longer available to that body. And this is very obvious. We know all these things, but we don't realize how meaningful they are. We don't realize how deeply they and us are related.
Yeah, that makes lots of sense, and I understand the logic of it. But I'm talking more about the feeling. When you described that Elokei Ruchot, I was like, oh, wow, this. Yeah, I sometimes I can connect to that, or sometimes not that I can connect. I can feel it, and it's like, oh, it's like no fear, no worries, no that type. But it usually.
So this is simply development.
Feel it, and then it's like, where was it? I'm trying to find it. And is there any way to connect or to feel that more?
Whenever you're dealing with this type of thinking, you're developing this type of thinking. Whatever you're doing, you're developing. So if you get used to living your life that way, eventually that will be the only way. And this is, many people have gotten to a place where they could feel this awe constantly. That they just realize what they're interacting with, and they feel like, why would I worry? Why would I even have an opinion? Why would I bother? And so this is something that has to be pursued, because we filled our mind with other things. So the only thing standing in our way is everything else. So the more we focus on it, the more it becomes prominent in our mind.
Is there a way to do this? A specific way?
Meditation is probably the most direct path, because then you're taking all your attention and you're focusing it on specifically what you want to develop. So that's the fastest way of developing anything. If you want to develop something inside of yourself, focusing all your energy on doing it is going to develop it the fastest. So in this case, it would be sitting and meditating, contemplating, and going deeper and deeper until it becomes real to all your organs. And then you won't forget.
All right, I'll try. Thanks. Try it.
All right. Anyone else?
Can I
everyone.
just ask
Sure,
something?
of course.
But I kind of connect to him in the sense where I feel like there are times when I'm in that place where it's
Yes.
like, yeah, totally. Like this is obviously from Hashem. Like you see everything. But is it where it comes like in levels where it's like once you hit a certain place, it's like, okay, but we're gonna make it a little harder, go a little deeper.
Of course. What's happening is, it's not like somebody wants to make it difficult. It's just that we have a lot of stuff stored inside of us that disagrees with this reality. And in order for all of us to experience it, they're all going to have to agree. So the way it usually works is we start convincing the easy targets, the ones that are not really opposed to what we're saying, and slowly they get convinced also. But then, as we go deeper, we start meeting those times or those places or those traumas that really, really, really don't agree with what we're saying. They don't think that life is so nice. They don't think that we need to just be kind and appease everybody. They've seen an ugly side of life and they want to continue the argument for as long as possible. And so once we start hitting those, then it gets a bit turbulent, because 1 minute this one is in charge, the other minute the other one is in charge, and we don't even know who is going to win when we're inside of it. But once we're in this process, the good will always win. It's just a matter of how humble we are, so we go easy. But the more we had very strong opinions and very strong beliefs and strong traumas that were opposed to reality, the more we're going to go through turbulence before they all surrender to reality. But at the end, everybody has to surrender to reality. Reality is bigger than everyone put together.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Rabbi,
Yes.
when you speak about meditation,
Yes.
and are you looking for the type of meditation where you are sensing just throughout your body, trying to connect to the everything that's around you, or are you using thoughts, or are you using feelings?
Okay, I'll define a little bit more. Meditation is focusing your attention specifically on something unusual, something that you're doing sort of to develop the mind or the awareness or the consciousness. So I was going to say internal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. There are meditations, for example, on the flame of a candle, or obviously we can meditate on sounds and music. So the senses can be involved, but the mind is being used in a specific way in order to develop a new type of awareness. And this is the nature of the human being. Whatever you expose it to, it develops and it becomes, and then it has unlimited capacity. It has a very big potential for what it can be. So as we start developing something in the brain starts shifting and seeing things from a little bit a different perspective. So when I say meditation, I mean very general. It's focusing your attention in order to gain spiritual development, whichever way you might assume. But what I try to do myself, and which is also what I try to teach in the guided meditations, is coming to a place where everything inside of us unites as one. And that is a form of stillness. It's a form of being in a state of receiving life without creating anything specific with that life. It's just realizing, I am receiving life. I exist. Someone, something, whatever it might be, in whatever form or state, decided that I exist, and therefore I exist. I don't have to do anything in order to exist. I'm completely silent, and I realize that I exist. And that silence allows us to see life from a perspective that is more real, because what's separating us from reality is all of our opinions. Opinions that are based on circumstance. They're anecdotal. They have no basis in the real meaning of things. And so when we go back to the stillness, we're connecting to the real meaning of things. The real meaning of things, which is unknown. But even while it's unknown, we can see the depth, the importance, the magnitude. When we're still, we can appreciate these things. But when we get involved in daily activity, when we get involved with others, when we get involved with information that changes the way our mind sees reality, then we lose this mystery, we lose the relationship, we lose the appreciation. So this meditation is specifically about uniting the spirit, uniting the thoughts back to their source, uniting the feelings back to their source, just so the spirit can realize, if only for a glimpse, or if only for a moment, who she is and how much power she has to create whatever it desires. Every organ is there to serve, if we can only manage to learn their language, to know how to interact with them appropriately. So this is the goal of that meditation.
So you're silencing your mind in order to connect with every part of yourself and also everything outside of yourself, or only trying to connect with?
When you're silent, there's really no distinction. So what you're silencing is inside of you, because the outside of you is not disturbing you. But once you're silent, then there's no distinction between the inside or the outside.
Yes, that's true. Okay.
All right.
Thank
All right, thanks everyone.